Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say...
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin, pal.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
And hello there, and welcome to Frankie Sense and More. You know, I just listened to that recording, that intro, and it goes in her new co-host. And I don't even have a co-host. Like, I haven't had a co-host since I started. I think I had one for a little while, a couple weeks or something. But anyway, doesn't matter. Who cares? I have some really great news for you and some bad news for you. If you live in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Boston, Miami, Toronto, Seattle, Atlanta, or Dallas, then tomorrow on August the 11th, mark your calendar. It's Free Cone Friday. And on this day, users can select the Uber ice cream option on their app and have free ice cream, a free ice cream cone actually delivered to their door. Can you imagine that? And the ice cream trucks that will be distributing the sweet treats will be serving them in a reusable silicone cone. So if you keep your cone, you can then bring it to any participating McDonald's for a free refill every Friday until September 22nd. Now, let me tell you, let me ask you, let me just say, you know what? This was a really dumb week for me to start paleo. That's all I can say. What a goofball I am. Today, we have a returning guest. David W.Berner is back with us. You might remember, he hails from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he began his work as a broadcast journalist and a writer. He moved to Chicago to work as a radio reporter and news anchor for CBS Radio and later pursued a career as a writer and educator. He is also an award-winning author of Accidental Lessons, Any Road Will Take You There, There's a Hamster in the Dashboard, the novel Night Radio, and his newest memoir, October Song. Well, this book starts off with David is actually also a songwriter because I'm going to let him tell you what he did. Let's welcome David to the show, and we'll get started on his journey. Hi, David. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Frankie. Can I be your co-host today, then?
Yeah, you can be my co-host today. Yeah, be my co-host. That'd be cool.
I'll take you.
I'll interview you. You can interview me. however it's going to do. Yeah, this book, I mean, music has been a really big part of your life. Because I remember, you know, I had you on, we were talking about your book, Night Radio. As a young boy, you know, as a DJ in a radio, like music is a big, big deal for you. And it continues to be a big deal as you hit, you know, you're striding towards 60. And, you know, I think my husband has a T-shirt that said, because he's 61 now, and it says, you know, I'm lucky because I got to see all the great bands.
Yeah,
right?
He's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it? What is it about music and that just really turns your crank?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, when I'd listen to the radio, you know, back when all those great bands were playing regularly, you know, I was enamored by it. I was, you know, it was the kind of coin a cliche, I guess. It was the soundtrack of my life at that time, and I think that's true for a lot of people in the late 60s and early 70s. So. I became just enamored with their lifestyle, with their approach, with their really storytelling is really what I always thought it was. You know, later in life, I kind of figured that out. That's what I was really enamored by is the storytelling of these songs. So, you know, I played guitar and I played piano. I've never been, you know, super good at it, but I've always been enough to carry a tune and played in a couple bands and that kind of stuff, but nothing that was major. But it was just kind of fun, and it was a way to express myself. And as a young man, you know, I really didn't know how else to do that. I thought that, you know, this is the way of the world right now. Music was such a big part of that time. So it became sort of my way of expressing myself, and it continues to be that way.
It's a good way to get girls, too.
that walking around a golden retriever, I found that.
Yeah. Have a guitar and a golden retriever. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't my complete motivation, but maybe it was like a little side thing there. But it certainly was a big part of my life then. It waned a few times, as I got older, but there always was the thread of music through there. Yeah.
I mean, October Song, definitely is a story of your life, and yet, even though you have a main female character in that book, there are songs, and you mentioned the girls, the Willie Nelsons, right? The girls who came before through those songs.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess we all have music that's important to this, the times of our life, and they bring back so many memories when a song pops up on the radio. You go, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I can't imagine the people in the 2000s too much having that, but not much there.
Yeah, well, I think that the fact that you brought up all those past girlfriends or whoever they may have been in my life, I how can you forget those people? I mean, you can put them aside, but they're part of your life. They're part of the fabric, and to just kind of dismiss them is really not facing facts, I think. So it's just part of me. I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that where you are now, it doesn't mean that you're longing for them or pining for them in some way. It's just a part of your life. So
yeah, they help shape you, or gave you a kick in the butt, or whatever they did. They broke your heart, whatever it was. That's how come you are who you are today, probably, and that's a good thing. Yeah. And male or female throughout your life, right? Really, everybody that you meet that had a moment for you, I guess.
Right.
So as a writer,
yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go back. What were you saying?
I was just saying that that's kind of the theme of the book of October Song, is that there was this one incident where I entered a songwriting contest and got named a finalist by happenstance. Really, I didn't really expect it, and that moment in time, that little trip that we took, just brought back a flood of what these things mean to people, what music means, what past lives mean, what past loves mean, what past moments in your life, and that's what the song is really about. The song and the whole entire book is about sort of, do you think that your dreams are over, whatever those dreams may be, when you start to get older? But necessarily it doesn't mean that. And that's where the book is certainly about my life, but I think it could be about anybody's life who kind of stops and takes a look back at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, 9 years old, I sent away for these records, to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be on the radio. And, I don't know, 40 some odd years, 50 years later, here you're on the radio. And it doesn't, like, dreams, they don't die. Sometimes they're not realized, but they don't die. And then at some point they come back and they say, hey, you know what? Make me real. Make me real. And for you, I mean, you entered this songwriting contest. You have a guitar that you've had for 25 years, a Yamaha, right? You noodle around on your guitar a lot. And as a writer, you get stuff in your emails, and this email came in for a writing competition. But it was a songwriting competition. And you thought, well, I got a couple songs. You got a song for your girlfriend, and you had a song that you had written for your boys, and you entered both of those songs.
I did.
Which one did you think would win, really?
Well, I actually really thought the song for the girlfriend, who's now my fiance. Congratulations. I really thought that was going to be the one, and the name of that song is Under the Moon. And I thought that was it, but I put the other one in there because I always kind of liked it, and I had written that song several years before I entered this contest. And, I really hadn't thought about it much until the songwriting contest come up, and I put them both in there. Well, to answer your question, I remember calling Leslie, who the main character of the story is, and telling her that I, was named a finalist, and I said, that's the good news. The bad news is they didn't pick your song. They picked the other one. So
did she say, write a better song for me?
Knowing her, she might have said that, yeah. But I was reluctant to go to this. I was named a finalist, and I had to go to this venue, which is just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. And I was I was asked to come there and be a finalist, and the whole idea was to play it live in front of an audience and the judges and the whole deal. So it's a fairly well-known music venue in that area. So
it was
kind of in
Livingston.
Dave
Is that what it's called? Livingston.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's Dave Matthews Country. Dave Matthews is from
I
that
love
area.
Dave Matthews Band. Is my favorite.
Yeah, and there were some rumors that he had once played there, but I was never able to confirm that. But anyway, it was a pretty big deal, and there were people from the area and all over the country. There was somebody from California there.
So there were 30 finalists?
There were 30 of us, yeah, and only 29 showed up. The 30th one never showed up.
I wonder how many submissions they have. Did you know how many submissions?
Well, I don't know for sure, but my understanding is, from what I was able to gather just talking to people, is that there were hundreds. Now, I don't know if that means 700 or 200, but
wow.
there certainly were hundreds, yeah. So,
I got to tell you, you inspired me to send in 2 of my husband's songs.
No, you can do it. I mean, why not? I mean, what's the difference, right? I mean,
why not? Let's see. Yeah. Who knows? I'm not going to send my song though, because it's not going to win.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, that's where you're probably wrong, because I thought for sure Under the Moon was going to be the winner in this.
Yeah.
But it was the other one, A Better Day. So
He also has a song called A Better Day. Funny.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So Leslie.
But I wasn't going to put that one in either. So you guys decide, you and your now fiance decide you're going to go. And you didn't want to go. She goes, no, you got to go. You got to go. And we got a minute to our commercial break. But you're starting a road trip now. Now it's becoming an event. Now it's something that's kind of fun.
Yeah, and we decided to drive. It was about 500 miles, I think, 600 miles or so. And I live in Chicago, so
how many days did you give yourself?
Well, we drove as far as Charlottesville, and then we stayed there overnight, and then we drove to Livingston, which is only like 45 minutes south of there. But we decided to just knock it out, and it worked out really well. It really did. And again, I was reluctant to go. I thought this was kind of a crazy whim. But okay,
well, I'm going to stop you right there. It's a little bit of a cliffhanger because we are going to go to commercial break.
Sure.
So what happens when David gets to Livingston? Ooh, okay. I don't know. We'll have to find out. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Frankie Sense and More.
No, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
It's words you never heard.
Big girls don't cry, right? According to a recent Wall Street Journal article by Dennis Nishi, there's a stigma attached to turning on the waterworks at the office. 61% of men who reported crying at work cited personal reasons, an illness in the family, the death of a pet is the catalyst. While 58% of women said it was something that happened at work, being unfairly blamed or criticized. Men are like mascara. They run at the first sign of hubbub. That's another word for crying. What's the word for the fear of intense emotion? Zelophobia. Women may have a better excuse for crying than men, as females have higher levels of prolactin, which encourages the production of tears, making it easier to be known as a lachrymist, or someone who cries at the drop of a hat.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Eating meatless meals is gaining more and more popularity. You don't have to vow to be a vegetarian either. Vegetarians eat only plant-based foods, and they generally eat fewer calories and less fat. They weigh less and have lower cholesterol levels than do non-vegetarians. They follow a diet which emphasizes fruits and vegetables, grains, beans and legumes, and nuts. It's rich in fiber, vitamins, and other nutrients. If being a vegetarian is not for you, do what I do and incorporate vegetarian habits into your life. Every week, I serve 2 to 3 meatless meals at home to my family. A National Cancer Institute study found that those who ate 4 ounces of red meat or more daily were 30% more likely to die of any cause over 10 years than those who consumed less. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Hey guys, don't forget to order your ice cream tomorrow. It's Frankie Sense and More. I'm your host, Frankie Picasso. My guest today is David W.Berner, and his book is October Song, and we're talking about that. He was a finalist in a songwriting competition. He never expected to even be mentioned, I guess. And here he's about to take an adventure with his girlfriend, and he was thinking himself, this old guy, what am I doing? Why should I drive 500 miles? But his girl's like, no, come on, let's do it. Take it from here, David.
Yeah, I give her a lot of credit because I'm not sure this would have happened. So we decide to go, and we get in the car, we take off, and we really don't know what we're getting into other than, we looked up a little bit about the venue. And I didn't know what to really expect. I hadn't played in front of people, in front of an audience, a real audience, just at a party for probably 20 years.
Oh, wow. Were your hands shaking at all? Were you nervous?
I would tell you I was a little nervous, but I was okay with it. It was that kind of good nerves, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't expecting to go and didn't think that I would go, but there's a great line, Bob Dylan's song. I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now.
Yeah.
I think that fits exactly the way it turned out to be. I forgot that I was an older man with with kids at home and those kinds of things, and decided it was time to be young again. And
I think a lot of us feel like that, David. Until we look in the mirror. And then in our heads, we're like those 20-year-olds, right? And then you look in the mirror and go, where did that old guy come from?
Well, there's a lot of great young, talented musicians out there that are writing some wonderful music right now.
This is true.
I just didn't think that I was in that ilk at the time. So, but it worked out. We went, and we got to the competition and walked in, and it was a great place. It's called Rapunzel's. Some people may know it. It's a big old place with it's got a nice little bar, but it's a big venue. There's probably a couple hundred people could fit in the venue easily.
Well, I'm going to take you back to your road trip, because you guys were driving through Virginia, and you said that you had lived near there and you knew what to expect, but it actually was a beautiful drive. I think that you weren't expecting the countryside to look as pretty as it was, and have the wineries that you went to.
Oh yeah, I had I'd grown up in Pennsylvania, so I was used to mountains and hills. Mm-hmm. But I had really forgotten how beautiful West Virginia is, for one thing. Mm-hmm. And then I hadn't been to Virginia that part of Virginia I never was in, but I was more near Norfolk and like Nags Head and that kind of stuff. So that part of Virginia I'd never been to. And this was October, and it was a phenomenal landscape. Virginia is gorgeous.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. You made me want to take a road trip.
I didn't know that there were wineries there, and there's a big history with that, with Thomas Jefferson bringing wine from France, grapes from France over.
From Monticello.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that there was some connection, but I didn't know that they had sort of spawned all these wineries, and it was phenomenal. And the wineries were very good and very, we went to a few of them. We had some time before the show, and it was really an incredible trip in that way. So if you're thinking about a little road trip, Virginia is a really nice place.
But it was really funny because you talked about how you hate to be, late for anything. You like to be on time, even before on time. And you go and you ask for directions, and 3 people send you in 2 different directions. I mean, it's like, hello. Yeah. Like, where do I go again?
You thought this part of Virginia is, you're in the mountains, and it's little pockets of wineries and little pockets of towns. But it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. If you're a real city person, it's out in the middle of nowhere. And, we thought we were going the right way, and I pulled into a little convenience store, and I got, the fingers pointing in 3 different directions about which way I should go. And we could get no cell coverage on the phone to pull up Google Maps or anything like that. So we had to go back to old school maps, and we figured it out, but it was a little worrisome, I have to admit, because they said if you weren't there on time, sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
So you're not going to drive 500 miles and then go, oops, you can't play. You're a minute late. Sorry.
That would have been awful.
Yeah.
So we did get there, but we did get there just under the clock.
So there was an issue. I guess they issued ballots to everybody. Everybody got to vote in the audience, and then were there judges that also got to vote, or was it just all audience?
Well, the judges voted, but I think the judges had more weight, and they should have. I mean, these were people who ran recording studios, and
right.
I mean, these were people that had some merit. Yeah. So they certainly should have more weight, and you can stuff a ballot box when you've got a lot of friends in the audience. So
exactly.
So
what was the grand prize?
The grand prize was a recording contract.
Nice.
At the studio that Rapunzel's was part of. So you would get some studio time, and they would press a CD for you. So that was part of it. That was the big prize.
And would they put a band in there with you too?
No, it was me and my guitar.
Yeah.
And you could, but if you wanted to do the recording, you could bring anybody you wanted.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that's what I meant. Could you record with or do they have studio musicians there?
Yeah, but I wasn't, I didn't have my eye on the prize.
No.
I really did not consider winning. I honestly did not think of that. I just said, I'm going to go. I'm going to play the best I can on this song. I'm going to enjoy this trip and enjoy the experience. And I it's hard to believe that. I think a lot of people go into anything like this and say, I'm going to try to win. Well, I just never really thought about it.
Okay, David. So give us the premise of the song. The song is like, where did it come from? We're going to play it in just a sec.
Well, I was very lucky a few years ago to be honored, really, to be accepted as a writer in residence at the Jack Kerouac Project in Orlando, his home in Orlando, which I got to stay in for 3 months. And I stayed there, and that's where I wrote, and he wrote. That's where I finished, and he wrote, take you there. And I took my guitar along, obviously, for I had 3 months down there, and wrote some songs. I wrote this particular song that was selected to my two sons, who are now in their 20s. One of them was still in high school at the time, I believe. And they had been through their own troubles, which is, I won't get into all that, but it wasn't, a couple of health issues and some struggles through high school and that kind of thing. Not too unlike a lot of other people, really.
Sure.
But I wanted to write something to them saying, there is a better day. You're going to look back at this time and it's all going to be okay. And so I wrote the song. It's called "A Better Day," and I really thought that it was special for me. I don't think that they ever actually heard the song until.
Well, they can hear it. Yeah. Oh, I guess they heard it after. We're going to play it right now. Let's play the song. And we'll talk about it after, because I don't want to miss our commercial. Go ahead, Ben, please.
Whispers wait for the darkened night. Sunken sun has faded blue. Silence cries from a weighted heart. It is all this day is left for you. Alone inside night's deepest dream. Far from all that is true. Melancholy melody and harmony that's mellowed you. There's a light on the western sky. Setting day has left its mark. And to your surprise, the sun will rise to a better day. on the dust of a weary soul. No one clears it but you. No more scars behind hidden doors. There's only one thing left to do. Sing out loud your spirit song. Let the moon be your guide. Find the place that sets you free. There is nowhere left to hide. The light is fading from the western sky. Stars rising high above the clouds. And to your surprise, the sun will rise to a better day. Light is fading from the western sky. Stars rising high above the clouds. And to your surprise, the sun will rise to a better day. To a better day.
I just love that song. What a great song, David.
I appreciate that. It was recorded in a very crude way. It wasn't done in a recording studio. So it's just me and a guitar. And that's kind of what the competition wanted. They wanted to hear the song. They didn't want to hear the musicians.
It's a really good song. The transitions, the bridge to the chorus, like really, really, really great. Not everybody can do that, and it's a memorable song. It's a memorable song, and I could hear it. It's on the tip of my tongue who it sounds like, and I can't think of who it is. We're gonna go to commercial break. Maybe I'll be able to figure it out. But there's something about it. Not that you copied anybody. We're gonna go to commercial. Frankie sent some more. My host Frankie Picasso, David W.Berner, is my guest, and we will be right back.
No, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
It's Martin and Her.
Do you ever get nervous riding in an elevator because you're afraid the cable might snap? It's entered my mind more than once. According to Elevator World magazine, on the rare occasion a cable breaks, the car won't plunge to the bottom. This is because elevators have as many as 10 cables holding them up, each capable of supporting a fully loaded car. Sometimes I feel a little mischievous in elevators. Next time you're feeling like a rapscallion, try one of these little jokes. When there's only one other person in the elevator, tap them on the shoulder and then pretend it wasn't you. Push one of the buttons and pretend it gave you a shock. Or maybe start a sing-along. What's a word for a person who thinks he's funny but no one else does? Witzelsucht.
It's Martin and Her.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
When eating out, sushi is a wise choice. The Mayo Clinic says that most types of seafood are relatively low in calories and are full of nutritional benefits. The calories in sushi vary depending on the dish and how it's prepared. In fact, the same sushi dish may have a different nutritional profile when it's prepared by a different chef or made in a certain restaurant. This depends on the specific mix of ingredients. Generally, though, sushi can be included in a healthy eating plan. To reduce the calories in your sushi meal, avoid anything prepared with mayonnaise or added sauce. Begin your meal with low-calorie soup. Pass over the shrimp tempura rolls and choose the cucumber rolls instead. Be sure to order the sushi without any rice at all, because 1 cup of cooked white rice has about 240 calories. I'm Annette Hammond.
And we're back. Wasn't that a great song, guys? Didn't you love it? Is it for sale, David?
I
sell
never
a single.
put it on sale. I
Record that and sell the single. Really, it's a great song.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I have a friend who has did some work in a recording studio. A couple of friends actually, and I've always thought about maybe. My son plays the drums. One of my sons.
Yeah, I play drums too.
It'd be kind of fun to do. So someday. Maybe.
I'm not just saying that because you're my guest. I'm saying that because it's a damn good song. It really is.
Well, that's very nice of you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. I think a lot of people would like to have it in their library. I would.
Wow. Well.
And I do.
Maybe it'll be on iTunes.
Anyway, but October Song is not just about writing a song. It's about a burgeoning relationship. And, you guys are in your 50s and people think, oh, it's all over. But it's not over. Being in your 50s is not over. Love doesn't end at a certain age.
No.
And so how long had you been going out at this point, you and your friend?
When we took off for that trip, we were, now that I think of it, she's gonna hate me because I have terrible times and dates. But I think it was less than a year.
Okay.
When we took that trip, yeah.
Okay, but after you played and you're having some drinks and it's all exciting, you decide, gee, I think we should move in together.
Yeah, I brought that up during the trip, and it was not planned. We were sitting at a winery and having some obviously some wine and some lights, and it was a beautiful day. I mean, it was just absolutely a gorgeous fall day. So we were sitting outside, and I just said, "So what do you think about us moving in together? What do you think about that? Us moving in?" And I think it took her by surprise. In fact, I know it took her by surprise.
Like, had you guys talked about, we've both been in relationships before, we've both been married, like, I don't ever want to get married again, or, let's just keep things like, it's good like it is. Like, had you been talking like that, or?
I think we had talked a little bit about it. We certainly had known each other's relations. She certainly knew about my past wife and my girlfriends. I'm still very good friends with my ex-wife, and so she knew about them. I don't want to speak for her, but I know for sure that it was a little strange for her to have someone in her life who had good relationships with past girls.
Unsettling, yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
My ex comes from Thanksgiving.
You know what that's about then. And
I know exactly what it is. Yeah, and it's not like I don't want them. Oh no, thanks. But it's there's a continuity about it. There is a friendship at some point, right? You have kids, and it makes it easier for the kids sometimes too. Not that mine are young, but just they don't have to go to two different places, and I can be a mature adult and have him in my home with his girlfriend, and who cares, right? No big deal.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I get a lot of people who are bristled when I hear that, when I tell them. And Marie is my ex-wife, and she's coming to our wedding.
Good.
So so it's fine. It's fine by me, and I think Leslie's become more comfortable with it. Although her past was very different than mine. Her relationships were not all that great.
My ex is like that too. He didn't even want to mention his wife's name, and she's very nice. I've met her. I've been in, when the kids had kids and whatever, and she's wonderful. Like but to him, she's like the demon, and don't mention her. I can't have her be around her. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. But I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I totally get it, and I respect it immensely. And I understand her feeling about it, but it's for me, I can't throw people away.
That's
people they just can't. I mean, they've been part of my life in some way. Throwing them away seems wrong to me.
Yeah, so, we do grow out of relationships. We grow out of relationships in the way that they might be, but not necessarily doesn't mean that they're bad people. The relationship changes in tone, right?
Exactly, that's exactly right. Yeah. So there's a moment in the book where that surfaces.
Yeah. So you're going to take her to meet. She's already met your younger son, and he's cool, right? He's cool. That he's like laid back and cool. Let's talk about the Red Rock concert, because I don't know why you did this to her, but you took her to Colorado to see a concert, and for some reason you decided she should get high, but you were going to abstain because you were the driver. I don't know why you abstained. So you take her Colorado, of course, everybody knows it's, pot friendly and you can go buy whatever. So she's going to have an edible. And,
Right.
My understanding of edibles is that they can take a long time to start. And once they do, they're with you for 4 to 8 hours. And
Yeah,
so,
they
you were
get-
advised, just take a little bit. And so she did. And then tell us what happened.
Well, we're at the concert, and she took a little bit prior to that, and then she had another bite, and then she leaned back and she looked at me during the opening act and said, "I really don't feel anything." And I said, "Well, let's give it a little time." So a little time passed. I gave her a little bit more. Well, when it hit like a ton of bricks. She became, there's that weed paranoia that people may know about. That it hit her to the point where she was rattled. She didn't want to be. She grabbed my arm and she said, "Please don't leave." And I said, "What if I get you something to eat?" No, you can't leave. So it really hit her hard, and I felt bad about it, but it's just one of those things. And when we were leaving, we kind of left a little early because she was really paranoid.
Wow.
So we decided to leave early. Well, we got there in a hurry, and we parked quickly. We were both on the phone. We got out of the car. She's a realtor, a real estate agent, so she was on the phone with a client, which seemed to happen every time we go away somewhere. She's in the middle of a deal. So she was on the phone. I was on the phone with my son, and we'd forgotten where we had parked. And if you know anything about Red Rocks,
Yeah.
it's impossible to find your car if you parked on the road somewhere. So we left early. Well, we could not remember where the car was. And that became a real crazy experience, which is outlined in the book with lost keys, with cab rides
You
back.
lost your keys too. That was crazy. So here you're trying to get this woman out of there. You can't find your car. You don't have keys. Somebody's trying to help you, but wow. So you end up getting it towed.
And I had abstained. I was straight.
Yeah. Yeah, you were straight.
And I was the one who lost the keys, couldn't find the car, so...
So
we
how
ended
long
up
did your
having,
paranoia last?
probably until the next morning.
Oh my gosh, that poor girl.
She was rattled, yeah.
Yeah.
And, Leslie is a very slight, very fit woman. And my son, who knows a little about weed, my younger son, said, "Dad, what did you have to eat before this?" And I said, "Well, we had like a hummus wrap or something." And he went, No. You got to eat fat. You got to eat food. You got to have something. Well, that was part of it.
Yeah.
And,
oh my gosh.
We had hiking. We had done hiking, so we were all, we had exerted ourselves, and it was just not the right time. It was not the right setup.
And it was like her favorite band or something that you went to see?
Well, we went to see Iron and Wine. If you know anything about Iron and Wine, it's just wonderful music. A great songwriter, Sam Bean, and he was there playing a solo act, and it was really special. He's a wonderful songwriter, and it was one of her favorite musicians, and it just we had to leave early. But the trip back to Denver and that whole experience is outlined in the book, and it's I think a lot of people will relate, even if you've not partaken in marijuana in any way. I think you could still relate to this sort of nightmarish experience, and it really was. And basically, when it was all over, we were going to the airport the next day. I turned to her and said, "Well, if we can get through this, we probably can get through anything without really getting mad at each other, because we never got upset at each other."
Right.
And I really felt after that experience that we had locked ourselves to each other. I really believe that. We knew that we were going to be okay. So I really thought that experience, as crazy as it was, as unnerving as it was.
Well, it's
really
about trust, She learned she could trust you in a bad situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and you saw a different side of her, but you still stuck it out. So that's great.
Yeah, there was one point there where she honestly believed I was going to throw her off the cliff at Red Rock.
Oh my gosh,
She was so, everything around her was heightened to the point of almost hysteria. It was pretty unnerving. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty scary. Wow. So you get back
Gonna do
home,
edibles.
and things are okay, and you're starting to getting ready to move in. You're starting to get rid of stuff.
We started to have that conversation, and then I started to kind of rethink where I was in my creative life, and that's the part, really the second part of the book, about where are you in your life now at an older age, and do you want to just call it quits with your creative life, or do you find that this new experience is just the start of a whole new chapter? And I think that's the part that a lot of people can relate to, is like, if you always thought you wanted to write a book, or you always thought you wanted to write a song, or you always thought you wanted to, do community theater, or whatever it may be in a creative life, paint, sculpt, whatever, and you kind of stop like at 55 and you say, that didn't happen. Well, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that there is a new place, and maybe now is the time.
Yeah.
And that was the part of it, the part of the book that I think, at least what readers have told me, has resonated the most, in that it makes people really reconsider. And I don't mean to imply that I had all the answers, and I don't mean to imply that this is a sort of how-to book, because it's not. But
right.
I
agree. Because I did write a how-to book about midlife, changing your life in midlife, but this is it. This is the metamorphosis, and I think that's actually the midlife crisis, or the midlife, change that people are looking for, or wondering about. And it's really coming into the authentic self and the person that you always wanted to be, that society had, let's say, almost taken from you, or socialized from you, or into you, or however you want to, put it. And here you have an opportunity to create the real you, the one that really wants to write a song for Valentine's Day, or the real you that really wants to be an author, or the real you that's always wanted to paint a picture, or whatever. And now is the time that we get to do that. We are going to a commercial break, though, and when we get back, we're going to hear the last segment of October Song with David W.Berner. Oh, and look up the copy right now. You can go to David's website. And what's your website, David? www.davidwberner.com?
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Gerasi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice, and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Gerasi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is a developmental disorder with symptoms that include hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattention. While it is said that 9% of school-age children have ADHD, 4% of adults are also afflicted with the disorder. In children, it can interfere with academic or social performance, and with adults, it can hinder with work and personal relationships. NC State University states that exercise is a viable treatment for ADHD. Many studies have indicated that exercise improves cognitive function. Exercise increases dopamine and is an affirming force when it comes to ADHD. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
There's no fighting DNA. And throughout the book, there's something in the background, David. Your father, you had a heart attack at the same age as your father, and your father had prostate cancer, and so you're going for tests, and you're waiting to hear your results, and that's always in the back of your mind, like, am I going to die as young as my dad? When am I going to die? Like, am I dying? Like, I don't mean to make light of it, but it's there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all have stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what were your thoughts? Were you scared, really, or?
When I had the heart attack was very mild, but I caught it at the right time, and I have no damage, and I'm all good, and I don't have any restrictions, and it's all a good thing. But and I never was like a super workout kind of person or anything like that. But I was active, I put it that way. But I was never hardcore about it. But my dad, they tell me that it's all hereditary. I mean, most of it is. I mean, the doctors told me that. And even when they told me that when I had it and my dad had it at the same age, the doctor looked at me and goes, it has nothing to do with how many steaks or martinis you had, because apparently this is all hereditary to you, because your cholesterol was reasonably good. So it was just one of those things. And being scared, certainly a little bit. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I have found when I've gotten older that I don't get as worried or frightened about these kinds of things as I would have when I was maybe 30 or 40.
Right.
I think just understanding that, not catastrophizing, and I think that's how I approached it. And I don't know why. I don't know why I fell into that and became very comfortable with the fact that I had something to be looked at and concerned about and take note of.
But you've got a woman who's now your fiance, and you're looking forward to a future with her. So you want to be good, and she also had a cancer in her background, and so you both want to be healthy for one another.
Exactly, and my older son had some, and my younger son too, both had some health issues along the way, and all of that, you're like, okay, these people, meaning Leslie and my son Casey, were my heroes. They were people who had overcome immense issues. And I'm like, well, hell, I mean, I just had a mild heart attack. What am I worried about? I have no reason. Yeah.
It's all relative, my friend. It's all relative. So you take Leslie out to Seattle to visit your oldest son who moved away, and he's got his life out there. Everything's out there, and you kind of want to tell him that you're going to be moving in together, but you hesitated. What was that hesitation about?
It just didn't feel like the right moment. And I don't know how to explain that any other way.
Like, what were you worried about? You worried that he would judge you for it, or?
No, I didn't feel like he would judge me, but I think that, when I'm of the belief that certainly when your children are younger, and at that time my son was mid-20s, early 20s, that everything, and I don't mean this to sound in a way that they are narcissistic in some way, but everything is about them.
Oh yeah.
And so when Dad takes this step, what is that going to mean for him? And I was concerned that might shake him up a little bit until I had more time to talk about it.
I mean, they don't just automatically go to, well, who's going to get the money when you die?
Well, I've already told them I've decided to spend it all, so don't worry about that. But and that, where am I going for Christmas, and when am I going to see you, and where am I going to sleep when I come to visit, and
do I have to be nice to people, and
all
that good stuff. So there you are, and your son and Leslie are getting along really well, and you guys are very comfortable, and she says something, and you blurt out and call her by your ex-wife's name, and everything stops.
Yeah, that was I think it was a tougher moment for me than it was for anybody else. it was a comfort. I related to it being a comfortable moment.
Yeah.
We were having some food at the place that we were staying with my son, and he was getting ready to leave because he lived right down the street. And I had said something to the effect of, "Yeah, well, don't worry about it, Marie," or something like that. And, of course, her name is Leslie. And my son went, "Nice, Dad." You know, and Leslie was really taken aback. But I think I was the one that was rattled the most. I was really troubled by it. Not because I had brought up Marie, but because I had sort of, in the back of my mind, maybe I hadn't gone the full step yet. But that wasn't it. That wasn't it at all. It was just a comfortable moment.
Yeah.
And it all felt good with my son there, and it was sort of like muscle memory.
It is. It is. And, you know, I mean, I often call my kids by my dog's name. I mean, it's not like you don't know who your kids are, or mix up one child with another. Like, you know who they are. But the brain is a funny thing. And, you know, like, you just, sometimes stuff comes out, and it's not, you don't mean it to, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. But, yeah, I mean, it was muscle memory. You know, you associate one with another, and boom, there it is. Because you probably, it was the first time you ever called her Marie, right? So.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you were thinking about Marie at all. It was just
no.
You said it for so many years. Yeah, really.
And that scene is in the book because it kind of says that all those threads in our life don't go away.
Yeah.
They're always there in some fashion. They've just taken a new form, and you know, and I had to come to grips with that. I had to kind of realize that, oh, this isn't a you know, a hard end to a chapter. This is kind of like chapters mixing, and
you took it really hard, though. I mean, like, you got out of bed, you beat yourself up, you were like, I'm a piece of shit. I should just kill myself now. Like, you really took it hard.
Yeah, I did. I felt bad. I got over it, but it took me a while. I have to admit, it took me a while. The Leslie, I think, was over it in 24 hours. You know, next morning she was like, "What are you worried about?"
Yeah.
And I give her a lot of credit for that, but it just was a weird moment for me, and I would suspect that other people have fallen into that same kind of scenario many times over. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not unusual at all. So, yeah, I wouldn't even... Have you done it since?
I don't think I have. If I have, I've inadvertently and not even noticed it, but I don't think I have. I mean, Leslie would be the person to ask.
Yeah, I'm sure you would know if you've done it. She's like, "You're making a habit of this, David. Stop it."
Yeah, I think if I'd have done it 2 or 3 more times in a row, that'd have been a real issue.
Then you'd be
no,
gone.
I don't think I have.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So, you know, whatever happened to that song that you were trying to write for her? Did you write it?
I did. Yeah, I did finish another song. I'm still, I think, in a way, still working on it. And I think.
But you wrote one song for her already, right?
Right. The second song never really materialized, and very frankly, when I think about it now after I've written the book, and I think back at that, it's because the relationship is still going on. It's almost like the song isn't going to get written and fully realized until we are fully realized.
Well, what was the first song that you wrote about her about?
It was about her? It was about her. It was called Under the Moon, and it was about the term comes from the first time I kissed her. We were outside at a restaurant, and the moon was out, and I remember that moment. And it was, but the song is really not about the first kiss. It's about our connection, and either spiritually or mindfully or whatever it may have been. And so it was sort of under the moon. That we had sort of formed a bond that was beginning to be realized. It wasn't realized yet.
Right.
And that's what the song is about. That's what that song is about. Yeah.
Okay. And so this next song, where were you trying to go with it?
Well, it's really about, it's mostly about how unbelievably happy I am.
Okay.
I know it sounds kind of trite and cliche, but it's very true. She is she's a missing organ in my body. I mean, she really is. She's that connected to me.
Nice.
And it's, she has, she's my best friend. She's my best critic. She's my best supporter. And her not, when I think of her not being there, I used to think that I'd be pretty good alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel that way anymore. It would be very difficult not having her around. It really would. It's really, really, really difficult. And I always thought I was a pretty good alone person. And I don't
well, I'm happy for you. We all want that. You're very fortunate to have found it and recognized it and not be afraid of it. And especially in midlife, because people have gone through so much. They've been through marriages or bad marriages, and they go, oh, I don't need that anymore. Or, I don't want that anymore. And, I'm not going to do that anymore. I was scarred. I've done it before. I don't need it anymore. And yet, like you've opened up your heart to it, and it's the best thing that you could have. So good for you for doing that.
You have to remain vulnerable. I mean, you do, because that's how love connects. I really believe that. You can't be, and again, very truthfully, and Leslie and I have talked about this, if we'd have met 20 years ago, we may not have liked each other.
Right.
So,
exactly. I've been there. Anyway, David, we got less than a minute left. I just want to mention again, David W.Berner, his book is called October Song. He's got a couple other books that are really great, too. You can go and look him up on Amazon.com. But www.davidwberner.com, go to his website, grab his book, October Song. Hopefully he'll record this song, and you'll be able to put it in your library. David, it's been a pleasure having you back again. Thanks so much, and I guess, you're on the road again.
Well,
take care.
Yeah, again. But I appreciate it, Frankie. It's always great to talk to you. I really enjoy our conversation.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
See you on the beat. Hit Rash Production.
Shit, now you